What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We have a massive video here today with Paradise, one of our expert traders from the Mars High Club. We're going to be running over the best altcoin setups right now. We're starting to see a little bit of a pullback in the market, as you can see. So we're going to talk about whether this is an opportunity to buy the dip, how you can go about buying the dip, and what our bias is over the coming weeks. So it's going to be a massive show, super alpha packed, and I think it's going to help all of you out, especially given the fact that a lot of these lower time frame trend continuation strategies and alts have been really profitable over the past couple of weeks. So if this is a little market reset, this could actually be a great opportunity to implement a strategy and make profits on the next leg to the upside. So that's why I needed to get Paradise on today, because he is the expert on that front. But Paradise, how's it been going, bro?
Yeah, good. Very good. Sleepless nights, which is indicative of good conditions, right?
Yeah, I've been to the gym for the last 2 weeks. What happens is I go to the gym, I start working out, I get 3 sets into my workout, and then I need to go home because my brain just starts firing, or I get an alert on my phone, and I haven't been able to work out, honestly, in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. Been lagging with it. I don't even bother going though. I just haven't gotten there.
Especially with this coin here, which caused me sleepless nights yesterday. So I wanted to ask you, before we just do a quick recap of the crate. Last night it went to 360, guys. It's insane. I thought I was late calling it at 90. It went to 360. And we'll talk about Fabian's call in a second, because that was mental. That was at 15 million. But Paradise, did you listen to Fabian or me? Did you listen to any of us, or did you fade it?
I saw Fabian's call, and I was already in like 6 trades at once, and spot trades and intraday trades. I'm like, you know what? I will check this out in a bit. And I left it for one day, like 24 hours, and like that's a million years in crypto. And the next day it was up big. So I was like, well, I've missed that, but
and you didn't get in here on the secondary push up.
No,
you just said that. I missed it.
Yeah, missed it.
It's crazy, bro.
I was at sort of max risk exposure anyway, but yeah. I mean, if you look at the noodle, I don't know if you're looking at my chart right now. You're looking at your window.
I can go onto yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this actually gave a phenomenal entry, and I'm kicking myself for not looking at it. Straight SR, a very clean SR retest into the noodle, and it just like had another.
Why weren't you looking at it? Because I made the video at 90, and I posted in Discord at 90, and that was a day later. So was it just not on the radar?
I had jelly running instead. So I kind of thought maybe I missed this, and I tried to sort of front run the jelly thing. Caught a nice move on that, but yeah, then it kind of was planning a rotation into Vine.
Insane, bro.
Yeah.
Like it dumped hard. I don't know if you want to pull the chart up, but
interesting today.
I literally cashed out at the top. I don't know how I did it, but yesterday at 2:30, I literally cashed out at 6271 for a 4x profit, and then afterwards it absolutely nuked, as you can see.
This is the definition of the Burj Khalifa, right? So people are asking me today if we buy this. Like, absolutely not. You want to see like a slow retrace back, not this immediate like engulfing candle down. So
looks better for a bit, I think, if you go back to the LAUNCHCOIN chart.
It does, yeah. I mean, structure, it looks better right now. I just don't know if it's top, because we look at the RSI on this thing. So I've got a 4-hour RSI. Like, this is a very clean divergence down. But you can see each time we've made these lower peaks, it's still run higher. So, take it with a grain of salt. But,
and there are a lot of people shorting. I saw Moritz and some other like CT traders starting to short. So that makes me think maybe there's one more leg.
Could be.
Who knows?
Yeah, I've been monitoring anyway. I've got alerts up and down depending on where it goes. We'll see. Maybe catch the last squeeze if it happens.
But I got to say shout out to Fabian, because he made like, I told him like, bro, why are you even still in MHC? Just go buy an island. He absolutely killed it. It's a generational trade, and it's one of the most generational trades we've had in Miles High Club. It was a 23x last night, and now it's back down to a 17x. 23x in 2 days in the Discord. Like that, it's absolutely mental. And even my trade was a 3x, which is a 4x at one point last night. I was asleep, so I can't claim that I made a 4x, but I made a 3x. So a little bit more than that, actually. So it was amazing. And to celebrate one of the biggest days in Miles High Club history, we ran a promo yesterday where we gave the first 100 people a 50% discount. That promo sold out in 90 minutes, which is pretty insane. And I had a lot of angry US people DMing me afterwards being like, bro, I missed the promo. I'm in America. So for you guys, I wasn't going to do this, but I'll give you one last chance. For anyone that missed out on the original promotion, we're going to do one last promotion. This is your last chance to get in at any sort of discount, because then it's going to go back to its full price, which, by the way, is still worth it. But for anyone that missed this, tried to sign up, realized they couldn't after we sold out, we're going to do a 149 promo. So this is the last promo. This will also be another 100 people. So the first 100 people that click the link in the description are going to get the last discount. It's 149. Usually we're 199. And this is the first promotion that we've actually ever done in Miles High Club history. It was going to be for the 1 year anniversary, which actually coincides with the end of April, beginning of May. But because we had just such a legendary trade, I thought this was the perfect time to do it. So yeah, link in the description below. I assume that'll also sell out because the demand's pretty insane right now. And it's no surprise because we're absolutely cooking up in the Discord. But I want to ask you, let's actually go to Bitcoin now. How are you feeling about the market? Because I am starting to see, I noticed this and I flagged it to you before. It looks like we're rolling over a little bit on the daily. So just want to get your perspective on where you think Bitcoin sits right now.
Yeah, hopefully people can see these levels on my chart. Up here we have like a daily resistance, pretty much the range high, all-time high, just below all-time high. This right here is a monthly level that we've been trading above. We kind of had that puke yesterday under it. Oh, sorry, a couple of days ago under it. Got back above. I was kind of hoping for this low to get run to like generate some more liquidity for maybe to attack the upside, but we didn't get that. But potentially rolling over now, we're definitely finding this like hard resistance at 104.8K, give or take. In terms of the noodle, like, you know, you can see we're still holding the 4 hour, but it's looking pretty dodgy here. So I have these levels marked out, but I kind of suspect we are going to roll over. And the levels I'm looking at, because we also have like bearish divergences on the 4 hour, you know, very clean. We had a 3 drive pattern up. We also had the same thing on Ethereum. So could roll over there. I just think if we do, then what I'm looking at is basically this level down here at like 99 to 100K, and I'll get into in a second why that's important. It's like a nice gap fill down in the volume profile. It's a 12 hour noodle, which if you look at it since we flipped it, has been historically like respected quite well. So that lining up with the key level here, probably sweep these lows into it. This is kind of where I'm looking for a price to come down to and potentially find a bottom. I think a lot of alts will puke there. Even with the altcoin strength we've seen, BTC sneezes like this week here and currently this move. We can see the entire market is red at the moment. So I still think there's a bit of PTSD there. It doesn't take much to shake people out. I've been taking a good chunk of profit on the 5 spot positions I was running from lower over the last 24 hours. And then kind of if we have like a big sort of news event or a really big sell-off, like to really shake people out, this is where I'm kind of aiming to sell the house type thing. Got daily demand down here. This would be the first daily noodle retest since we flipped it and broke out. If anyone was watching past streams of Miles and I, you can see we were under it for a long time. And eventually what we're saying is once we flip it, it's going to impulse up. And that's pretty much what happened as soon as we started to get above it. So that's what I'm watching for now. And just quickly,
would you bid that retest if we went down to that daily level?
It's an interesting one for me because this is a full retrace of the impulse candle, which is to me a loss of momentum. But in terms of my trending system, this is like the first test, best test kind of thing. You know, the first test is always the strongest for supply and demand. Same goes for the noodle when I back tested it. So we get down there. Yeah, I just have to take a bid, even if I didn't want to, even if I was scared. Like the system just tells me I'd have to down here. But I'm also definitely interested in this level down here at like 99.7K. I think there's a lot of confidence.
And for me, that's the level. That's kind of the line in the sand for alts. I mean, I don't know if you agree, but my framework has been as long as we're above 100, I'll keep looking for longs. But if we start to close below 100, and that would converge with that level there, then I would be a little bit more wary and probably be looking for that daily zone to fill.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people sort of underplay the importance of big round psychological numbers. You know, it's what a lot of, you know, people fresh to the market will trade off. They'll see something around $1 and you see massive reactions around those things. $1, $2, $3, whatever it is, for high time frame levels. But also why that level is important to me, like the 99, 100K levels, just if you look at VWAP here. So left to right, top left is the yearly VWAP, top right is the quarterly, bottom right is the monthly, and bottom left is the weekly. There's so many points of confluence around that level. Apart from having this big FEG, we have the yearly developing value area high there. This red box, you can see when I drag it across, it's just mirrored across all the timeframes. So that's the developing yearly value area high. It's also the Q4 value area high from last year. It's also the current monthly VWAP, pretty much, lining up with developing monthly VWAP. And then it's also the previous week's VWAP from what we just closed. So there's a heap of confluence there. And I also think like your thesis of potentially rolling over here, you can see once we lost the developing weekly value area low, we got back inside quite quickly, had a rotation to the upside, sort of tagged it again, now rotation back down, but we're currently losing again. Now, if we can't get back inside this, I can see us, trending down to roughly in here somewhere. And that's
but you can see last time we had like a wick. This was on the 13th of May. This is only 2 days ago. We wicked below the noodle as well on the 4 hourly, and then we ended up reclaiming. So could it be another like fake out situation potentially?
Could be. I mean, my strategy always with trends is I don't care about wicks below. If we go back to, I've showed it 100 times in your streams, but the weekly chart in BTC, it hasn't actually, like you see right now, this wick closed back above the bottom band. All these other candles stayed within the band. Now this one right now, if it starts closing below, that's kind of my first warning sign. I very quickly go out to BTC on the weekly noodle. You can see, since we actually flipped it all the way back here in January 2023, we've never actually closed below the bottom band. I'm not going to zoom in on these too much, but we've never actually had a body close below it. So that's why I don't mind wicks below it. I'm only concerned about the trend being lost when we actually close below it. You can even see in the most recent move, we bottomed just above it and we could not close below it. So this thing has been holding for a good few years now. And that's kind of my strategy in a nutshell, is I only sort of deem the trend is ending once we start finding acceptance below it. But if we start closing below it, like the first candle, that's generally my first warning sign to de-risk a bit. And if we start finding acceptance under, i.e. we can't get back above it and we start trading more below, then I pretty much cut the position. And then all I do is I go to high timeframes and look for the next one down. So pretty much we lose a 4 hour, I'm looking for the 12-hour reaction there. If we lose a 12 hour, I'm looking at the daily. And that's generally the matrix I use. It's like 1 hour to 4 hour to 12 hour to daily. And, you can trade differently, but all those things like the hourly noodle is for intraday trades, the 4 hour noodles for intra-week. Daily is generally where I buy spot or take big swing positions, and same for the 12 hour.
Guys, I want to ask you a question in the comments below. Seriously, comment and answer right now. Because we've been talking about this, we might talk off camera, but should we give Paradise a weekly solo stream? Because I've been thinking about it on this channel, not just in the Mars High Club, because I've just been thinking, like, if you guys are really into TA, maybe having me interrupt, obviously some of you just know me, but having me interrupting less and having more charts could be like very beneficial for you guys. So if you want it, just let me know. You can say yes or no, but just let me know in the comments. Do you want a weekly Paradise stream? Because we can make that happen. And he can run these shows solo and actually, just go really deep into trading education, setups, that kind of stuff that maybe we don't get to do in these joint shows. But
that'd be
putting
cool.
It out there, just getting some feedback.
I can talk to the cows come home any day of the week.
Because I love it. I love listening to it. So I think a lot of people will be in the same boat. But yeah, let's just see what people say. Do you want to look at total maybe now? Just see how the altcoins are looking, because I know we kind of had this triple bottom on the others chart, and then on total 3 we technically have had a breakout. Like this is a trend shift for me, but yeah.
I actually haven't looked at it in a while, but I've drawn levels on it, obviously. I mean, if we're just treating this for what it is, just like standard resistance retest right now, and you can see the 3-drive pattern. So this is my favorite reversal pattern. We saw it on BTC and ETH, which is why I was de-risking. You basically have like a high made, then you have a sweep of it, then you have another sweep of it. And basically each time that happens, you're having like 3 drives down in momentum. So, we get this into a key level. Generally, you look for the inverse, like a bullish one, into like a key support level. When you have into resistance level, it's pretty much like, where you're hunting shorts or hunting to de-risk or hedge or whatever you plan on doing. ETH has exactly the same thing happening right now. These effectively maybe reset because they hit the 50 level in the RSI, but it's the same thing we keep seeing. So I actually haven't checked that for a bit, but that level looks quite important right now. So yeah, I mean, this thing always trades just beautifully. Hey? This was just a
it's
generic
weird
altcoin
because
chart.
it's
I'd be bidding
I
it.
know, it's just like technically like it shouldn't work, but it does. It's like dominance, but this is even more.
Also, look at like the noodle capping price all the way down, then eventually it flips it, perfect retest, and just shoots. It's just like any altcoin that you
So
want to bid.
because we broke back above the noodle, is there potential that this is just going to be a noodle retest and like that? I mean, that also might line up with 99K on Bitcoin or even the lower bound on the daily and potentially be a good confluence to bid.
Yeah, well, there's something interesting I noticed on BTC. I know I just said BTC, like we want to see it go down, but I think, obviously alts will puke harder if BTC does. But when you see the noodle on the daily get a retest, especially if it's the first one, it's like a big event for me. So effectively, if anyone's watching and you're wondering where you can buy a spot or whatnot, if you just treat this chart right now as your favorite altcoin, because pretty much everything looks the same, this is what you're looking for, these retests down here. And you want to see some strength shown, like maybe maybe the hourly or the 4 hour. You want to see some like market structure broken or some divergences form into that. But, this is what I'm looking for in any altcoin right now to position. Hence why I took profit on a bunch of stuff. I'm looking to like compound those lower. But one thing I did pick up yesterday was looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart. So we had the big level, which you and I have discussed a bunch of times on stream. We came to this big point of breakdown. This is just me showing past altcoin alt season rallies. But we came into that level and we've had a nice rejection. Now, anyone looking at this, wondering why we had that pop in the market, it was just this move down in BTC, which gave us this big rally the past 2 weeks on altcoins. It wasn't much of a move in the scheme of things, right? You look at it to past alt seasons. Like this was the 2018, 2017 alt season. This was the 2020, 2021. And so this right now, we had a huge move in the market with like things doing multi 100% moves. It's only like this little blip here. But why I'm thinking right now that Bitcoin could be due for a turnaround, might have a wick lower or something and fill some stuff, but is the bullish divergence is forming. Now we might think like doing TA on total and that as a meme. I'm definitely paying attention to this. So you can see like we're having very clean bullish H4 divergences, like triple divs showing up here. And that's why I think potentially like maybe some strength is shown in BTC. It starts rallying up, maybe attacks the highs again, maybe makes a stab at all-time high. And also obviously get sidelined a bit from that. Hence another reason why I was taking a bit of profit on spot bags. But I think this is important to know. I don't think many people are talking about it right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone pointing that out.
Yeah, so keep it on your radar. Obviously, alts will suffer a bit if BTC rallies in the short term. Obviously, they'll catch up. But yeah, I would like to try to position.
And that's another option I don't think enough people think about. Everyone thinks about USD and then altcoins. But sometimes a good strategy is if you want to go risk off, but you don't want to ruin your exposure to the market, you can just shift into Bitcoin or just long Bitcoin, short alts. So at least if Bitcoin rallies and your thesis kind of gets blown out a little bit, you'll still capture the upside, especially when dominance looks like that. So that's something even I might look at doing today, just adding a little bit more Bitcoin, maybe just trimming some alt positions. I'm not like mega bearish, by the way. I think there is enough headroom here to have a bigger run over an extended period. It's more just monitoring how we manage it in the low time frames to make sure definitely. We have enough capital to scoop up dips. If we do go to 100, for example, and alts come down another 10-15%, which they probably do in that environment, then I want to be able to buy back in. So
yeah, I mean, like this has played out exactly how it should have. We've discussed this on the past streams before. Like this level needed to be front run in order to show demand in the market. Now we didn't get the perfect retest of it, and I know a lot of people were waiting for it. I was drawing like the 3-day demand down here, saying it'd be a good level, but we didn't get it, and that's a good thing. We swept these lows, we front run that level, which shows good demand. But then since we've gone up from 74K, we have not had a single pullback on like a meaningful, like high time frame. We've had vertical accumulation, so like here, and then we had it again here. Effectively now, this sort of looks like the dynamics changing a bit. Maybe it just does sort of a fractal of these two candles here. Kind of looks the same, but I am sort of in the park that at least we come and sweep these lows. And that just lines up with at least a 12-hour noodle retest. Now, I know waiting for the daily is a good thing, like I was saying, but my thing always with the noodle, I've gone over this at length in the group a bunch of times, but once we flip it, you want to find the time frame it's respecting most, and it should continue to respect that time frame. So this is a really nice consolidation above it. This is a beautiful retest, and as soon as we tested it, we shot up immediately, had a very impulsive move. So now it's lining up with a key level. Also, all those levels I talked about on VWAP. This is why I think the 12-hour is sort of one we need to pay attention to. And it will also line up with a sweep of this low. Now, this low, like why I was saying the other day on Twitter and in the group, is I wanted to see this swept, was because we need some sort of liquidity to go higher and like attack this all-time high region, because there's a lot of resistance up here. We've got supply, we've got the range highs, all of that. So sweeping this into like a key level, into the H12 noodle, and like getting back above and showing some strength there, I think that's enough liquidity to start attacking at least like this local high, which is Monday high, and then sort of attacking up here. Unless we get some sort of headline, or Trump does something which could just push us up immediately. If we don't have that, then yeah, we need to get liquidity from somewhere.
I think now would be a good time, now that we have the general framework, to maybe look at some alts that you would bid in that environment. Like, are there any alts right now that are like very good for trading, that have some nice setups, some clear levels that you'd be targeting, just to prepare people a little bit?
Yeah, so if you're like trading intraday, like I do, you want to have some sort of spaghetti chart like this. This just shows all the assets basically on line chart.
And this is in MHC, by the way. We have it in the resources section, so you can just add
also videos on how to create your own. You can create them for sectors. You can do like, world's your oyster with these things. So every day I'm on like either the 5 minute or 1 minute, and I just sort of have this on a separate screen, and then we look for outliers. Like obviously LAUNCHCOIN here is an outlier because it's like dominating above the rest. That's how I find intraday stuff to trade. But in terms of like high time frame, if you're just not that interested in doing intraday trading, then I've got some examples here of stuff to look for. So AAVE is a good example. Now all my strategy is with bidding spot. I mean, there's a few nuances to it with like order flow and stuff, but we're just looking for high time frame support resistance levels to line up with the daily noodle, maybe get some sort of stochastic reset, which we're sort of getting down here now. Needs a bit more time to develop, but something like AAVE looks really good. Now, I only trade stuff that's kind of in like current meta. So obviously off the lows, agents and memes perform the best. Therefore, that's where my focus has been. I did an educational stream 2 weeks ago in the group, which was, we built a list based on what has outperformed the market since Bitcoin made the 74K lows. It was this list right here, and this list has absolutely outperformed. If you just take a look at some of these tickers, yeah, absolutely outperformed everything except for Slurf. I'll put that in there. So this was up like hundreds of % the other day across everything when we're having this rally up, and it was simply
the money list.
Yeah, the money list. It was simply going back and marking out, and you guys can do this at home. It's really easy. So you mark out where the bottom was in BTC. So it was the 7th of April. And you go into your spaghetti chart. You can put it on whatever time frame you want. And then you're just dragging this back until you find the 7th of April. Now this LAUNCHCOIN thing is going to skew this quite a bit.
Yeah.
Get rid of it for a sec.
Yeah, just get rid of LAUNCHCOIN.
Now,
looks much better.
What you want to do is then drag that back to the side, the left axis. And basically all we did in the group was we go through and just wrote down all the outperformers there, what has performed the best off the lows as BTC made the lows. And that's what we made this list from. And it was, pretty much the day after everything started ripping. So this thing absolutely printed. And you can do this at home. It's a really easy thing to do. You can also use stuff like Velo data online. There's a website, velo.xyz. But yeah, my framework for that right now is to basically focus on what has had attention and what we think will continue to have attention. And then I'm just looking for standard noodle setups within that. So standard trending setups. And that for me is, high time frame, support resistance levels with the noodle, with some sort of stock reset. And then for an entry trigger, I'm just looking for like sort of the right signals on order flow, but it's, neither here nor there whether you do that. ARC is another one. Not saying I'm bidding these things, by the way. I'm just, AAVE I am, but ARC maybe. But this is the framework you're looking for. Mark out your high time frame levels, look for the noodle, come up with it, get some sort of confluence, and you look for it to just form a bottom there. And your invalidation is always easy. If it loses the trend, loses the noodle, then you can cut it. You haven't taken that much of a loss, and you're no longer in sync with trend. In terms of intraday stuff, I don't really have anything to share at the moment because nothing looks that good. There's a couple of small outliers, but I just think the market needs a bit of a cool off. But just one thing I wanted to touch on really quickly that I shared as a post on Twitter the other day, like when you see these big moves on like PNUT, MOODENG, PIPPIN or whatever, and you feel frozen out, it's fair enough to go to the daily and look at this and say, right, there's no way I can get an entry on this. You want to play what we've discussed before on the stream together. It's called rally-based rally. So, markets, how are we doing for time, Miles? So I have like 2 minutes to go over this.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So markets will never just come off the bottom in a straight line. They need, picture it like a Formula One race. We go up, we consolidate a bit. We'd have to gather some liquidity. Generally get sweep the lows, get back inside that range, push up, do the same thing again. And this is basically your rally, then your base, then your rally, then your base, and so on. This is how markets go. Then eventually hits like a distributive top, sells off, and you have the same pattern on the way down. How I was able to catch PNUT, GOAT, PIPPIN, and MOODENG was exactly just using this strategy. And it's not like reinventing the wheel. I kind of do it with diagonals. So I'm looking for the rally to happen, the base to form, and then I was looking for compression between a diagonal and the noodle. So you can see prices grinding up the noodle well. It's also being held down by this compression. You can kind of treat it like a battle between two sides. One's going to be the victor, and you sort of need to decide which it is. In my back testing, like 7 times out of 10, price resolves to the upside in conditions like we're having at the moment. So you kind of just keep punching this along until you go. But yeah. I use this a lot. You can also, you don't have to use diagonals. You can pretty much draw it as a range. So if we were to call this the range high, this the range low down here, we're looking for a retest the range low. You can either long there. It's a bit more risky because you're banking on it going up. You're not quite sure yet. Or you can just long the breakout like up here. So we broke above it, had a nice consolidation, gave you time to get in, and then it pushed away and did another however many percent. So that's
I guess it's a toss-up, right? I've had a lot of success longing the low just because you can kind of set your invalidations a little bit clearer. It obviously depends on how, well that level's respected, but I mean, I trade mostly spot, so I'm okay often to have a 10% loss, whereas if you've got 10x leverage, that's your whole position. So it also depends on what you're trading, but I like bidding the low and the breakout. Like sometimes I'll do both, like 50-50 breakout and low.
I used to be a catch it as close to the bottom and have the tightest stop, but now I've grown my account to like a decent size.
They can just play breakout.
I'm happy to take the breakout, like the first close above it, and then I put my stop generally under the swing low. Happy to have a wider stop because even a wider stop on this, like PIPPIN is one that we caught. Entered there in the breakout, stop went under this low down here, quite wide, but look at the result. Like, you're still getting 10, 12R on that trade.
Yeah, that's huge.
So it's just about catching the right runner. I don't just willy-nilly take any trade. I make sure it's within current meta or daily narrative. And for that, I'm using Twitter sentiment. I'm using spaghetti charts. I'm using stuff like volatility screeners like Orion Terminal.
I think that's the thing, right? To be a good trade, to be a great trader, it's not just technicals. Obviously, that'll paint half the picture. But if you can combine that with fundamental analysis, understanding what narratives are hot, understanding what has mind share, understanding whether the market is risk on or risk off, that can narrow it down even further and help you develop an edge, which is obviously, part of the reason why I think people love the group, because they're able to get the fundamentals from me, Fabian, and then combine that with you, Morin, and Doc for the technicals. So I think you need both skills. And I'm super strong on fundamentals, but I've had to learn, and I'm not by no means intraday scalping, but I've had to learn basic trading strategies like momentum, invalidation, support, resistance, RSI, how to analyze that stuff in order to make my fundamental trading even better, because now I have risk parameters on an edge that I already have. So now I have my edge, but then I also have risk controls with that. And it's the same if you start being a good trader and you've already got those risk controls, then adding the fundamental edge can help you make even bigger gains and be in the right tokens that outperform. So that's why having both is the ultimate combo. Really,
100%, man. Yeah, like if I got this call from Fabian, I would have waited to at least see like the first 15-minute noodle retest. And it may have looked like I missed a bunch, but had I not known about LAUNCHCOIN, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. I'm not saying it
needs to be on your radar to be an opportunity in the first place. Even if you don't take every trade in the group, I don't think you should. Right? It needs to align with your strategy, but just having the information and just knowing what's popular at any given time, that's really important to be able to just have your watch list refined.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, narrative first for me always, and technical second. I'm like 100% a technical trader. I'm not great with fundamentals, but narratives, I always make sure, because it's not hard to know what the daily narrative is. It was very obvious that AI agents were pumping, and then they'd rotate to memes. And that's as much as you need to know for narratives. And you can simply do what I do and have like a list on the side, which is just agents or just memes. You can say, right, today agents are pumping, and you can go on spaghetti chart and you can see all agents outperforming and memes underperforming. Then you know where the rotation is. Then you simply just, having your work done already and creating lists about these things. Then go in and you can say, right,
trading's half about organization.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's most of the battle.
I'm always refining my system every way possible. Like if we just go in here quickly, it's a bit messy at the moment. You can see I have dedicated watch lists for every sector. I've got a master index of all these things, and I've got low caps, AI, gaming, BRC20, RWA. The list goes on. So if, let's just say Sol Eco is really pumping one day, I'll go into my Sol Eco list, and then I can see what's actually outperforming the most out of that list. And then I'm only interested in those coins that are outperforming, and I don't really care about the ones down the bottom. And then I'm just looking for my standard noodle retest strategy, or just following the bots in the group to see. So I have to track all these things. We have some bots in Miles High Club, what I'm referring to, and they basically scan every coin in the Binance watch list every 15 minutes, and it will tell you what's retesting the noodle on the 15-minute, the hourly, the 4-hour, and the daily, and the 12-hour now. He's got those in without you having to scan through. Right now. Yeah, without having to scan through like 500 assets in a watch list every hour to sort of get that. So it's really good for that.
It's so good. This is one of the best. This was one of the easiest. Well, it wasn't that easy to integrate, but it's one of the best value for money.
Yeah.
Additions to the Discord we've made. I'm struggling to spit the words out, but that's it was like just a good ROI, basically, like having something so simple as alerts, but how impactful that's been on everyone's trading, I think it's been a great addition.
Yeah, man. Work smart, not hard, always. If you can find any way to outsource like doing the heavy lifting, especially in trading, then you're winning. And this to me is like by far that. So yeah. Other than that, not much to discuss. That's kind of the strategies I'm using at the moment. The levels we should look for pullbacks on BTC and alts.
Well, I'm sure something's going to happen in the coming days, whether it is that retest that we're discussing today or some other crazy thing because it's crypto. So I think let us know in the comments if we should have you back on. Obviously, we've been doing this for a while, but I'm talking maybe starting because we've tossed up the idea for a while, the dedicated thing. So let us know whether we should do that, and we can do it. What day is good? I mean, the problem is like Tuesday would be good. I think the problem with weekends is nothing happens. So it needs to be on maybe start of the week.
I already stream Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, I already stream in the group Tuesday and Friday, but I like Tuesday because it's when the Monday range locks in. But I think kind of the Monday range is less important at the moment. We have a heavy trending regime, so I'm happy to do whatever. Really, I can bump my stream around in the group. Just FYI though, to anyone watching this, I mean, by the time this is uploaded, 23 minutes to 4 hours going to close. Looks like it may close under the noodle. So
this will be
going into the weekend.
This will be like 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours after, probably.
Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. If you are like watching this, then this level I have here at like 102.377, that's going to look different in every exchange, but if we start closing below here, it's kind of a risk-off signal. If we get back above this level here, acceptance back above, then I wouldn't say it's risk-on, but you can be less worried about price going down if you are worried about it. I personally want it to go down. I would love to. I've already sold like 50% of all my spot positions. I want to compound them down around this level somewhere again. And by the way, these are my spot positions here currently. TRX, Hype, Altcoin, Virtual, and BONK. I actually just want to go over TRX real quick before we go.
Yeah.
This thing's a wild coin, man. Like it's just... I think just no one really paid it attention for the last however long. I mean, obviously people did because it's going up, but this sort of price action
just keeps going up.
Insane. Yeah, and I really rarely traded in the past because I'm like, Justin, some whatever. The guys are like always has the agenda to pump the coin, but probably for good reason because this setup right now looks phenomenal. Yeah, this looks brilliant. Nice rounded bottom, held the noodle, broke back above this diagonal. This potential.
I actually recently, I don't think I've talked about this publicly, but I recently added like a decent sized spot position. I mean, I'm happy. I'll cut it probably below that purple line you have if it went there. But like, as long as we're above, I'm just going to keep riding that. Yeah. Hopefully we hit that wick high at some point, and I can make a nice like 2x.
Well, these wicks get filled, right? Also, if you extend the volume profile, there's a nice big gap in here to fill. But like, yeah, I'm looking to add. I'm already about 66%. I usually scale my spot buys in 33% increments.
I think the Tron Eco is about to heat up, and I think if it does, you should also keep your eye on trading Sundog, because that's still the leading meme that with the support from Tron. So I think that one's gonna go, like, if this does heat up, that's a bait. I'd be trading the 2 betas.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I'm taking a big swing on this, but if this starts popping and like TRX Eco heats up, then yeah, I'll be going hard on Sundog because it's, you know, it has the good pumps.
It does pump like crazy when it does pump. Obviously, memes have been bad, but yeah, just needs the right environment.
Other than that, anything you want me to go over, or I think I'm pretty good on my end?
No, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there.
Short and sweet.
Thanks for joining. Link in the description below if you want the last spots on the promo. We added a few more at 149 this time, and then we're back to normal price, which I still think is worth it. But well, I'm very confident it's worth it. But I'll still give it to the people that were asking overnight. And yeah, hopefully you all have a good day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
That's good. Cheers.